Welcome to the Higher Power Travel Channel, and today we're going to talk about Fatima. Now, Fatima is a small town located in central Portugal, and Min and I are fortunate to live much of the year about 40 minutes outside of Fatima, due west in the town of Nazaré. So we've been to Fatima on many occasions, and I've come to find out that in the last year, there's been people that I know that actually have made these day trips to Fatima, only to find out that there are places that they didn't even know about that they should have gone to, but they didn't. So I want to make sure that when you go to Fatima, that you know all there is to see and do when you make a pilgrimage there. And so stick with us, and we're going to share with you what you need to know. We are Dennis and Min. Come join us on our traveling adventures around the world. Okay, so a little backstory. Fatima is really popular because of its apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary to 3 shepherd children in 1917. These apparitions lasted from May of that year to the last apparition being in October. So there was 1 a month, 6 total over that period of time. And the Blessed Virgin Mary gave specific messages and warnings to these children to share with the world, which they subsequently have done, including several secrets which have been revealed since. And so we're going to get into the importance of these apparitions, and it's estimated about 1 million people from around the world travel to Fatima on pilgrimage. And so it's become a very significant, one of the most important Marian pilgrimage sites in the world. So we're going to share with you what you need to know when you go to Fatima, when you're planning a trip to Fatima, and what you don't want to miss out on. So I'm going to set the stage here. So the sanctuary of Fatima comprises a large square, and in the central part of that square is the actual site of where the Blessed Mother appeared to these 3 shepherd children. So right now, it's called the Chapel of the Apparitions. So there's it's kind of halfway enclosed. It's got glass around 3 sides and open on one side on the interior of the square. So there is a chapel there that's been erected around this apparition site. And there is a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary that signifies the exact spot where she had appeared in 1917 to the 3 shepherd children, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco. And so there's also, because the Blessed Mother asked that a church be built in her honor on one end of, actually the east end of that square in the sanctuary, is the large basilica that you can also go when they have masses there. And then there's also a huge church on the opposite end. But this area is not where the children had grown up, is not where the children lived. This is simply where the apparitions took place. So the first place I'm going to make sure that you understand that you should go to visit when you go to Fatima are the homes and the small village of the 3 children. It gives you a really good insight into the environment that they grew up in. And so the name of that town is nearby. It's called Aljustrel. I'm probably not pronouncing that 100% correctly, but I'm going to put the spelling on here for you. And it's about a 5-minute drive from the sanctuary of Fatima. And you can walk there. It's maybe a 20-minute walk or so. And there actually is a pathway that leads from the sanctuary to the children's homes in this town of Aljustrel as well. So either way, you can drive there, or you can take it this connecting way through this path. So you might be wondering, why did the Blessed Mother appear to these children in this area in Fatima rather than their town of Aljustrel? Well, the reason is because every day or thereabouts, the children together were shepherds. And so they would take their sheep to graze in this area of Fatima. And that is where they would spend a lot of hours during the day with their sheep as they grazed in this area, which, it's hard to imagine now because it's all somewhat built up, but it was just rural countryside at that time in the early 1900s. So they would every day take the sheep from their town of Aljustrel along this pathway to this area where we now have the sanctuary of the Blessed Mother of Fatima. And so that's why there's some distance in between the town of Fatima and where the Blessed Mother appeared and where they grew up. So as far as the three shepherd children are concerned, Francisco and Jacinta are actually brother and sister, and their cousin is Lucia, who was a little bit older than them. And they grew up in this town of Aljustrel, and you can actually visit the children's homes to this day. So it's they're basically museums in a sense where they have retained some of the original furniture, the bed and so forth. You can see exactly the size of the homes that they lived in, very simple, humble, and it's just like you step back in time. So you have the homes of Francisco and Jacinta that you can visit, and this is also where Francisco had died as well. So you can see the room, the bed that he was in when he passed away. And that was exactly what the Blessed Mother had predicted when she appeared to them. And then very close by, short walk, is also Lucia's home. And also just a little bit further away from Lucia's home are these statues of the three children with the angel known as the Angel of Portugal. And so some people don't realize this, but a year before the Blessed Mother Mary appeared to these children, an angel was sent by God to basically prepare them for what was going to happen a year later. And so this angel appeared to them, gave them words of comfort, and also distributed the Eucharist to the children as well. And Aljustrel is a very small town, and so there's people that still live and work there in the cafes and the restaurants and the gift shops that are direct descendants of these visionaries. And I met this gentleman here whose father actually witnessed firsthand the great miracle in October of 1917 when the sun crashed down to earth and exhibited all these strange, incredible phenomena witnessed by 70,000 people. But he also said he was like a fifth cousin of the visionary child Lucia, and met her when he was 8 years old. She was a little bit older. So anyways, there's people that still live there that have these direct ties to the three children. So as I mentioned, they would take their sheep to the area where now we see the sanctuary of Fatima. So that pathway now is actually called the Way of the Cross. And it begins at the Rotunda dos Pastorinos, which is the south roundabout, and that follows the route usually taken by the three shepherd children. And it ends at the Hungarian Calvary, whose chapel is dedicated to Saint Stephen, King of Hungary. And it was here that the apparitions of the Angel of Peace, or the Angel of Portugal, took place in 1916, and an apparition of the Virgin Mary on the 19th of August, 1917. So along this Way of the Cross, there are 14 stations, and this was offered by the Catholics of Hungary and designed by Ladislas Marek. So yes, all the apparitions did occur in the Chapel of the Apparitions, which is in the sanctuary of Fatima, except one. So there was 6 apparitions total over 6 months, every day on the 13th, which is when the Blessed Mother had asked the children to come to that place where they had normally had their sheep grazing. But unfortunately, in August 13th, that was not possible because the children had been imprisoned. They were interrogated, and it was a very frightening and scary time for them. And the government came down extremely hard on their families and especially on the children. And So the children were imprisoned on the 13th of August, and they were not released, I think, until the 19th of August. So it was right after they were released is that they had this appearance by the Blessed Mother near the sanctuary, but it's on this area of the pathway between their hometown of Aljustrel and the sanctuary, and it's along the way of the cross, and there is a statue, a monument there that exists now, where you can see this exact location where the Blessed Mother appeared for the fourth time. Okay, now one of the things that you need to know before you go is that if you go to Fatima with a group, a pilgrimage group, and perhaps you have a priest that is accompanying you, they will sometimes provide opportunities for you to have your priest from where you're from offer a mass. So they do have smaller chapels for those more intimate occasions, but do know that the main masses that they have at these various churches, basilicas in the sanctuary, they're not going to be in English. I'm just sharing that with you right now. So you might want to be prepared with an app. I love the Laudate app, and that has so many different prayers in it, but also has the order of the Mass in English and also the daily readings. So that's what we use to follow along when we attend Mass over here in Portugal. So otherwise, you're not going to understand much. And so this is a way that you can follow along. So you might get fortunate in having to have an English-speaking priest on occasion, but generally the Masses there are going to be in Portuguese. Now, they do have daily Mass at the Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary. It's a beautiful, beautiful church. And at the entrance, just outside the entrance, up above, there is a beautiful statue, if I'm not mistaken, that was created by an American priest who actually had spoken with Sister Lucia personally on what the Blessed Mother looked like to her in her apparitions. So this is probably one of the closest renditions of what those children saw and how they viewed this apparition of the Blessed Mother. Inside, when you go inside the church, do note that you want to, as you're entering the church from the sanctuary, from the square, there are arrows on the ground, on the floor. So normally you're going to go to the left side of the church as you walk towards the altar, towards the sanctuary. So the reason for the arrows on the floor is because on the left side, as you go from the back of the church to the front of the sanctuary, on the left side near the front there is the burial resting place of Jacinta and Lucia, two of the three shepherd children. And so they are entombed there. And then what you would do is go across to the opposite side. Generally, you would bow or genuflect in front of the altar before crossing over to the opposite side. And at that location is the tomb, the resting place of Francisco. And so people often will stop there and say some prayers, and then you are, of course, free then to exit the church or sit in any of the pews. So there's this area that I had mentioned earlier briefly that is on the west side of the square that is underground, in a sense, and that is called the Galilee of Apostles of St. Peter and St. Paul. And down there you will find a chapel, which is known as the Chapel of the Death of Jesus. And also there will be found confessionals. And so for those that are seeking forgiveness for their sins, they have these locations down there. And there's also a place for adoration of the Blessed Eucharist down there as well. So for the confessional, for those of you that may be interested to go, typically when you go, there will be a nun or a sister there that is there to help facilitate people seeing the appropriate priest, and they speak various languages. My experiences is that most of them speak Portuguese, no surprise, and their majority may not speak any English. So that's good and bad because there may not be a lot of other English speakers present when you're there, so you may not have to wait as long. But most of the priests speak a couple or several or more languages. So needless to say, the sister there will make sure that you get connected with the right priest. Do note that they do not allow any pictures or any photography, video to be taken inside, which is why there's no media here showing that. So you might be wondering why a piece of the Berlin Wall is there at this sanctuary in Fatima. Well, it's because of the history. One of the messages that was repeated by the Blessed Mother to the children in Fatima was to pray and have the world pray for the conversion of Russia. And so in 1989, that pretty much happened thanks to President Reagan and Gorbachev, and many believe John Paul II had a big part in that as well. So that was almost like this prophecy coming true, and that's why there is a piece of the Berlin Wall there that you can check out. So the museum is definitely something I would recommend. You can get in and out of there within an hour's time, and there's some historical aspects about the apparitions there from Fatima, but also you have a lot of gifts, artwork that was donated to Fatima from entities, organizations, Catholics, kings and queens from other countries around the world over the many, many years since the apparitions took place. Okay, I'm going to give you some other important tips here when you go to Fatima. And again, it is a pilgrimage site, so especially in these areas in and around the churches, you want to be dressed appropriately. I think most of us as adults know what that means, but certainly, you shouldn't be wearing anything that's too revealing or skimpy, no matter how hot it may be in the summer, because it does get pretty warm there. I will give you a tip also that because of this location, kind of in the central part of the country, like most areas that are inland, it gets really, really hot there in the summer months. And also in the winter. We've been there in November, December, January, February, and in the evenings it can get really, really cold. It's only been maybe 40 degrees when I've been there at its coldest, but it literally felt like it was below zero. It was just really cold. So depending upon the time of the year, please be prepared for that. As a reminder, there are no hats allowed inside the churches. Another thing is about parking, and I've never had any problems with parking. So they have a lot of parking areas on both the east and the west end of the square of the sanctuary, and I found it's pretty much always unlimited parking, very, very open on the west end of the sanctuary. And no surprise, you will find plenty of gift shops in and around the sanctuary all throughout the town of Fatima. And so you can pick up just about any religious gifts that you can think of there. They do have a variety of hotels, places to stay. They have a lot of restaurants, a lot of cafes. And of course, in and around the sanctuary and the square, there are designated areas of bathrooms. Just look for the WC signs, and those will direct you to those. One thing that you might notice in and around the sanctuary in Fatima is that there are certain areas where you see statues of Jacinta and Francisco, the brother and sister. They actually died within a couple of years, and the Blessed Mother told them that they were not going to live a long life. And certainly because of the Spanish flu, within a couple of years of these apparitions occurring, they both passed away. In recent years, after much investigation, they were declared saints by the Catholic Church. So that's why you see these images, these statues of them in certain areas, and you don't see Lucia. Now, Lucia ended up becoming a nun with the Carmelite order, and she lived to be in her 90s, if I'm not mistaken, so nice long life she had. And so her cause for sainthood is still continuing. It's still, these things take many years. And so she probably would be the first to say that she wouldn't want her a statue of herself anywhere, but after people pass away, that's not always respected. But that is why, because Francisco and Jacinta were declared saints, that's why you see these images, these statues of them around where Lucia is not with them. Okay, regarding the candles. Now, sometimes there's no real line for these candles. Other times there's a pretty long line, but it does move. But you can purchase candles of various sizes right behind the information center. And then you'll notice just on the other side of that is where, I don't know what you call it, but this is an area where they basically have these areas where you can place candles and say your prayers. I will tell you that it's very hot because they have so many people that have been there prior to when you're visiting, that there's a lot of candles that are just melting in these flames, and it is very hot. And so it's going to be tempting to want to place your candle on one of the holders, but you have to they're located somewhat set back, and there could be a lot of hot flames coming towards you before where the candle holders are. So just be very careful. I've seen people, it doesn't seem very reverent, but they literally just throw their candles in there without setting it on a particular holder because it's just so hot. It's very hot. So I think that's okay. I think the idea is there and the purpose and the intent. Whether your candle wick is actually lit or not, it's still going to be, all of that wax is going to be melting, and the smoke from all of that is going to be rising up inevitably. So anyways, just be very careful when you are placing your candle in that area. Another definite no before you go is the anniversary dates of May 13th and October 13th are celebrated because that is the beginning of the Marian apparitions to the three shepherd children in 1917, and the final one being in October 13th of that year. We discovered this year that we wanted to go for the first time on this anniversary date of May 13th. And have you ever seen these images of the candlelight procession? Yes, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people fill this square. An amazing sight. So we were so looking forward to this because we heard this happens on the anniversary. So we go there May 13th, and not that it was a ghost town, but there just was not the throngs of people that we were expecting. Come to find out after talking to somebody, that was the night before. Yes, we missed it. 45 minutes away, we could have been there very easily. So we missed that huge anniversary. Nobody ever told me that it was May 12th. I don't know if that's a regular thing. You might want to check before you go and plan this. If you're staying for a couple nights, then for sure you'll probably be able to catch that. But yeah, I don't know why they don't celebrate that on the actual anniversary date. That really was kind of a bummer. It took me by surprise, but there's always next year. And another note before you go is that most every night they do have a candlelight procession, which is absolutely beautiful. And it is a little bit on the later side. I think like right now it's like 9:30 in the evening. So they have rosary prayers. They have rosaries in these chapels and basilicas throughout the day. And but the candlelight procession is beautiful with singing, and that is most every night. So located in the sanctuary of Fatima on the east end, as we've discussed, is the Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary. And there is a secondary basilica located on the west end of the sanctuary. And that is located next to the St. John Paul II statue. And there's also a big, I don't know if it's iron or bronze crucifix. You can't miss those, but it's located on that end of the sanctuary square. It is kind of at an angle going into the ground level, so almost like a basement level. And this is known as the Basilica of the Holy Trinity. And it was built in 2007, and it was primarily designed to handle the larger number of pilgrims that visit there to Fatima, especially on the anniversaries of the apparitions of May 13th and October 13th. Multilingual services and confessionals are available. And it was designed by a Greek architect named Alexandros Tombazis, and the style of this basilica is modern and minimalist. So in conclusion, some people might be thinking, well, Dennis, how much time is necessary to see and do all of these things that you just described? And I know some people, for the sake of time, they only can spend half a day there. There are a lot of great things to see and do around Fatima. They have these incredible caverns. There's Tomar. You have these incredible monasteries, hundreds of years old, nearby. There's a lot to see and do. So I get the need to perhaps trim some time off of these other areas like Fatima. So it just depends on where you're at in your spiritual walk and how much time you really want to invest in going to Fatima, because spending several hours, half a day, even one day, it's going to be almost impossible to take in all of the things that I just described. Because if you really are going there on a spiritual retreat, you know, just to be able to go to confession, to go to Mass, to pray at the Chapel of the Apparitions, to take in the evening candlelight procession, that can be, you know, a good chunk of your time, much less, you know, there's the museum, if you wanted to do any shopping, if you wanted to go to the Hungarian Way of the Cross that connects the shrine sanctuary to the town of Aljustrel, where the children's homes are, and visiting those. You just can't do that in a few hours. So I would recommend an overnight stay. They have plenty of accommodations in hotels. So I would say 2 days, one night is sufficient to see all of those things. And of course, the longer you stay, the more prayerful and spiritual the experience, I can assure you, will be. So thanks so much for watching, and we have more videos coming to you soon. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.